you a little bit a short story about the background, how we started with that topic, testing foundations for developers. And later on, we like to start a discussion with you. So if you have remarks or questions, you're very welcome to share that with us. Agile development and testing, a contradiction. Jürgen, you're a tester. Is that really so?
Oh, actually, no. Should we see it at one part with all these things like continuous integration, continuous delivery, continuous testing, continuous everything?
But why do we still have that strong distinction between developers and testers? I'm the developer, you are the tester. Is that really agile?
Oh, that's right. A good idea. I can do some programming. I can definitely help writing some code.
Okay, but development tasks, that's really what I like, and I don't want to be a tester. I think testing tasks are well with your side. So yeah, let's think about it together.
Shit, the customer called me. The software we delivered to him doesn't work. The whole production stands still. Jürgen, you have looked at it. Why doesn't it work? It can't be that difficult. Start the software, check whether it works. And Erhardt, you don't have to grin like that. You have hacked the whole crap and stapled it together. If you would code properly, we wouldn't have these problems.
Yeah, but it's all because of the bad requirements we get.
So, what do we do now?
Let's just work differently from here on and change things too. Otherwise, we are rid of the customer. Somehow our product has to get better, and we can only do it when we make it together. Let's be agile. I'm sure we can manage that.
I once heard about something like about agile testing patterns. Let's have a look at them. Maybe that will help us.
Great idea. We will try that.
So that's 2 axes for now. One axis is whether it's more about the business side or more about the technical aspects. And the other axis is distinguishing whether we do things that will help us build the product or if we are reviewing the product after we build it.
By technical, you mean all those zeros and ones and tons of brackets.
It's already something more, but I understand what you mean, Elke. And at the top, there is, I think, this exhaustive discussion with the customer, especially when they don't know what they actually want.
Yes, the subject matter experts are sometimes not so easy to understand.
Exactly, you got it. In this picture, we have 4 regions. In every region, we can improve the quality. Here in the top right, we have our tests that we do manually. Then in the top left is the technical and supporting area, which is where prototypes and user stories would be located. The bottom left is the technical area, where we have automated unit tests, for example. And the last area is the bottom right. This is a technical test, which evaluates the product, for example, a performance test. Right now, we find almost all of the bugs in the upper right area. If we could move more of them to the left side of the diagram, I think we could perform much better as an agile team. On the left are the things that support us to build the software properly in terms of business needs and technically right. We have the user stories, but they can certainly be improved. And if you would have prototypes, then the customer can see early what we think is what they want.
Prototypes? I take care of it. Erhardt, if you can build me a prototype, I can discuss the prototype with the customer.
Okay, and below, when I have a better understanding what the customer wants, I can test it on my machine. That would be the technical direction. Maybe something like test-driven development will work. I heard about that, but never tried it myself.
That would be great. Like I mentioned before, if you can catch many of the errors so early, I can spend more time to go through the other points in detail. We can divide all the testing activities into different levels, where we can then focus on the best way to do specific tests for that area.
I didn't realize there were so many different test types. I always thought click, look, and you are done.
There are a lot of them. Depending on what you want to test, how deep you want to test, or how much time you have, you can use different methods. I remember from my training that there are also many methods that the developer does rather than a tester.
Okay, then I'll take a closer look at them.
Great, then each one has its own quadrant in which we can be active, and we can still talk about it and take the others along with us. That just leaves the quadrant at the bottom on the right. What's happening there?
Here are very technical tests, performance testing, for instance. In this part, we need some special knowledge which is not present in our team. I know the name of some tools, but I'm not really familiar with them.
I don't really either, but maybe we can work it out together.
No problem, we have budget. For everything that we in the team cannot take care of, I will bring in support. Guys, I think things are clearly better now. We have built a common base and we agree on how to proceed together in testing. I would even say we have developed a real good test approach.
Exactly. We have different levels and ways of testing depending on what it is about at the moment.
And because you already removed a lot of the simple errors early in the process, I can take care of the special issues more. So we have the same understanding what means testing, why, and how we do it.
Let's think about what we do differently now than before. I would like to present this test process to the other teams.
First of all, we do reviews of the user stories that we receive, so that we notice very early on if something doesn't fit.
And not only manually for the user stories, but also for everything else. We haven't even found tools that take a lot of work of our hands. We can right away see if something doesn't fit in our models or in the code.
And we use many different test techniques. Before we actually always did the same test, mostly black box. Now we're also doing a lot of Lightbox testing.
And the nice thing is, many of these tests I have programmed once and doesn't have to take care of anything else because it runs then automatically. That's the way I like it.
That's right. So you can find a lot of bugs, and I can invest more time in experience-based methods, so I can go even deeper.
Not only you, I've also found many errors with it, especially when I've heard about interesting errors found in other companies and areas. I've immediately looked into that and see if we have the same thing in our area and that could happen in our software in our company.
I understood statement and decision tests, but this modified conditional decision test that you are always talking about, I can't get my head around it.
Elke, that's an easy part for developers. It is based on the ones and zeros you don't like so much.
Wait, so things are going quite well for us now. I can only hope that the customer is also satisfied with us. But now we should really bring this into the other teams as well. If only there was medicine like that, but that would be too easy. And still, if the other teams also activate the agile mindset, as we have done, then we can make many more projects and products a success.
It's not quite that simple, but the problem is not new. And I've seen there's a curriculum from the German testing board that contains exactly the points we have on our flip chart here.
But up to now, GTB have only supplied the testers.
Yes, but now there's a syllabus that contains exactly the points that are important for developers. And it's not just about theory, they've really built in practical exercises where code is also written.
Wait, but nothing for me. I'm out of it when it comes to code.
But it sounds good to me. That's exactly what we need here. If I see it right, Jürgen, they put exactly the points from our flip chart into their curriculum. I'm sure they were listening and copying from us. Okay, thanks.
I will answer the phone. The customer is calling. Good morning, Mr. Miller. How are you? I'm glad to hear that. On good cooperation. See you soon. That was our customer. The new version of the software is running much better now, and the users are really happy. And the coolest thing is, he just renewed our contract. You guys did a super good job. Thanks to that.
So much for our brief insight into a project life. We think nearly every one of you have similar experience like that. And now we like to come briefly to the curriculum. This curriculum testing foundations for developers, TF4D, is the first curriculum specifically aimed at developers. And it's therefore of interest to other people and professions. And the question is, how did the idea for the curriculum actually come about? This is basically due to the close cooperation between software developers and testers. For instance, in agile teams, the need for basic testing skills for developers arose in some teams. But which skills are these? Based on this question, the German testing board, GTB, defined a curriculum tailored to the needs of developers. However, the goal is not to retrain developers to become testers, but to give developers the opportunity to expand the knowledge of testing fundamentals needed to build the software. The following topics are described, and some of the topics you heard already in the presentations. So there are the fundamentals of testing. What is testing? What are the objectives of testing? Is debugging testing? No, but this is how we developers become familiar with testing, but it is not only debugging. Testing is also not only executing the software and control if the result is correct. It is verification, validation. Some of us have already heard about that. And why is testing necessary? The software is not working how the customer expected. We have heard the example. The customer called Elke and said, hey, it's not working properly. Sometimes it's only money or image loss, but it could also be health affected. We have maybe safety problems observed, autonomous driving, medical technology, rail vehicle technology. There are legal requirements, contractual requirements, and so forth. So there's a lot of need for having the proper quality. And the principles we know, I think, is early testing saves time and money. And testing is not only about doing something with the hand and executing code or something like that. It is also the planning, the analysis, and the documentation. And The testing throughout the software development lifecycle is distinguished into different, let's say, parts. We have test levels. So the component tests like unit tests, module tests, a lot of developers have that already experienced. This is the automated part. We have integration test, system test, acceptance test. Acceptance test is not usually in the scope of the developers. And we need to think about the goals, what we want to see. There are different test types. We heard that already. The functional test. What should the system do? Non-functional tests like performance testing, usability. And also a big part is the maintenance. Maintenance testing. What are the triggers for the maintenance? What is the impact? And we heard that also static testing. What is the basic of the testing, of the static testing? What can be checked by static tests? What are the benefits? And what are differences between static and dynamic? Apply review procedures, checklists, and role-based, and so forth. And then we have test procedures we need to take care of, like black box testing. There are different names, equivalence partitioning, boundary value analysis, and so forth. White box testing, I think some of the developers have already experienced that. Statement testing, decision testing, and so forth. And it was also mentioned in a few sentences before, experience-based testing. We need error guessing, exploratory testing, checklist-based testing. In the course, a lot of emphasis is also placed on hands-on aspects. That means the relevant skills can be acquired through practical exercises. The course helps developers and testers to understand each other better in their work. And however, the course is certainly also of interest to product owners, project managers, system analysts, among others.
You can find the course on the German testing board or the A4Q website. So you find it within Testing Foundation for Developers. And you also find a sample exam in German and in English. And also the training providers you can find with this website. Now we like to discuss some points with all of you. So feel free to discuss with us via the chat or at the best raise your hand, and but we are not so much people. Maybe you can just unmute and talk with us. So we have some questions, but if you have some other points, what you are missing on the in the syllabus, what you expecting, just ask.
So no questions at the moment. So no questions at the moment. So maybe that you are explaining still a little bit more while people can think about what would be the idea.
Maybe we can share a sample exam or also giving some information about the course that may be then presented. It takes up to 3 days, and we showed, there are different topics, and it is up to you what topics are more needed at the moment for the project you're working in. But this is a good overview to see, okay, what are the topics that a developer can help to find the problems quite early, and this working together between developers and testers, because we do not have these distinguishing roles any longer. this is really a mix. It's a team, and it's really interesting to see quite early that the customer is satisfied with the product that he ordered and that he gets.
We have something in the chat. The arguments between dev and test have been persistent for the last 50 years. I'm interested to see how your course might solve the issue. I don't think we can solve this issue with one course, but I think we have to work together. I worked as a developer, I worked as a tester, and the most successful projects were always where all the people worked really together. Not just hand over some part and now it's your turn, but if you work together from the beginning to the end, it's normally the best way. When I start programming, it was this way. So we started, we talk about what we want to achieve, the business side, technical side, and all together worked on this project. In that time, there were no special role tester, so we all did testing, like now in Agile it is supposed. And in between there were things like V-model and waterfall. And so then the differences between developers and testers come up.
We have another comment from Bernard in the chat. The issue seems to be more one of respect for ability and needs to change, but how?
Which makes me very old and older than anybody else on the panel, I'm sure. I'm not a developer or a tester now. I run a business, and it's far easier, quite frankly, than trying to solve the battles between developers and testers. I've only ever worked on one project where development and test had the necessary respect for each other to get things done. And that was purely on an integrated team. Every other time, I found organizations separate development and test, and it is to their detriment. It's a battle I've had for many, many years. And it seems to be one born of ignorance, quite frankly, that people won't change. I'm sure you guys have got some better ideas than I have about how to change it.
Sometimes it's also the financial side takes a role in this game. So if you both pay in for the same financial bucket, you don't have to discuss if it is your fault or my fault. So if you have different teams and you want to have your team clean, you want to discuss this bug is not a bug or this bug is a bug. If you have one financial bucket, you are easier to just working for the project. And so this is also in special if you have external contractors with maybe a fixed price or something like that. They just want to discuss every defect, not to be a defect, be a change request or something. And if you work really together, I had some projects where we worked really close together, and we, as a tester, I respect the developer respects me, but it's not common in many projects, I know.
No, that's the challenge. It's a lack of respect or a lack of integration, or both. I'm not sure which is the worst. The respect, I think. It's a lack of understanding about what each person or function brings to a development project. And I've been a developer, so I'm guilty of this. Developers seem to think that they're the clever guys. They can all do all the technical whizzy stuff, but they fail to recognise their own failings in that. And that if they've tested something, well, why does somebody else need to test it? It's fine. Don't annoy me. So I've been there, done that, but I've also been a tester for years, and I understand both sides of the problem. I'd be happy as a training provider now, which is far easier job than being in IT. I'd love to know what you have to offer to solve this.
Yeah, I think one part is also that one really needs to look into the team, because I learned that also we started classical department-wise. So we have the test department, we have the development department, and then we decided, hey, we are all agile from tomorrow. So all teams come together, but that's not working. So you really have to look how the people are. So there was decades ago a checklist done by Stuart Reid, I think it was, the founder of the ISTQB, where there were 20 questions that one should ask the member of the teams. And then you realize, oops, with this guy or with this lady, I can start an agile team. With these guys, not really, because it has to be communication. And like you mentioned, it has to be the respect, and also that the people are looking beyond their roles that they started with. So I'm not any longer a tester, or I'm not any longer a developer, because we're doing the joint effort that the product is successful. And how we manage it, we have to arrange on the team. But that's a lot of communication and learning different skills and so forth. And that was also a hard way for us to say, okay, we have now agile and we have classic teams, because not everyone can do it. So it's not that easy.
It takes time and step by step. So take your chance as trainer, no? To encourage the people. Benna, are you fine with that? Can we go on? Yeah. There is a question from Krishna in the chat. Is the course for free? Jürgen, can you help with that?
The syllabus sample exams are free. You can just download them. The course with the training providers, I think they will not be free, because they have to. You have to pay for the effort somewhere. You have to pay for the exam. You have to pay for the course, but the material is free, so you can learn on your own. And the main thing is not the certification at the end. The main thing is, like Bernard said, to work together. So the developer has some understanding of testing. The tester should have some maybe more understanding of the developer. So the course has to come together. It's more technical than the typical foundation course. So there are much more on the technical side in this course than the certified tester foundation level.
And we really like to understand if someone is really missing something, or have some other thoughts what might be updated for the future, because this is the first version of the curriculum that is published, and there will be for sure updates regarding the answers and then the questions from people who participate or have a look into the syllabus, like Jürgen just mentioned, or checking for the sample exam and so forth. Any other questions or remarks?
If there are questions, remarks later on, you can reach us via mail, social media, maybe Gathertown today, or whenever, wherever you want. So remarks are welcome, so we can improve this whole thing. And thanks a lot for listening.
I think as well
Thanks for your time.
Thanks to you. I think all three of you will regularly check in the virtual Congress Hall today And I think you can be met. There's the option to search for participants. So if you want to speak to one of those three, feel free to go there. You find the link on the Congress website. And if there are any other questions, just mail us or just mail directly to them. And I'm sure they will be happy to answer. Thanks to everyone very much for joining us today. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
And thanks again for all your efforts. Yeah, good luck. Have a nice day
Bye-bye.
further on. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.